この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here for Mawaru Penguindrum, starting with episode 15. Last week on Mawaru Penguindrum, we watched episodes 13 and 14 and got a whole lot of information and a whole lot of scary shit. In episode 13, we had a massive info dump, I would say, about Shoma and Kanba's parents and Himari's parents, who in this universe are the perpetrators of this universe's version of the 1995 sarin gas subway attacks. A big, huge event that changed and it has shaped and is continuing to shape the lives of pretty much all of our characters, as we've found out that there are some other characters with some links to Momoka and to the attacks through her. Killing Momoka, being effectively responsible for Ringo's whole attempt to become Momoka, lots and lots of stuff all leads back to 1995, which is why it's such a big symbolic thing in the story and such a huge part of Ikuhara's idea going into this. We also were introduced to a whole bunch of new imagery. I guess it's not totally new. We had it in the week before, but we're seeing how the dark bunnies and the weird bullets and the weird apples and the weird vials of weird stuff all function in universe, and it's very strange. Episode 13 focused pretty strongly on characters making martyrs of themselves, believing themselves unworthy of forgiveness or unworthy of connection is the big thing that stands out to me. And we also had a bit of a focus on making Ringo a bit of a more likable character, a bit more empathetic, as she's kind of growing out of her need and desire to become Momoka, and her relentless and strangely focused naivete, just in time for a massive role reversal and our discovery that Yuri has her own relationship with Momoka and desperately wants to reclaim it, and is using Ringo as a stand-in for her lost love, it appears. Yeah, so we turned Ringo somewhat empathetic, somewhat into a character that we care about, just in time to put her in a horrible situation and actually make us feel something for her. Nicely done. When we left off, she had been drugged, and Yuri was looming over her in a very horror scene-esque way, seemingly intending to rape her, and saying lines like, "I will make your body one that can't live without me," and stuff. Okay. Alright. Cool. So that's where we left off, and that's not a good place to be. We'll see if we actually focus on that and show how that goes down. There are a couple of ways that maybe we get out of it, or maybe we don't, and this just destroys Ringo. Who knows? Let's watch the episode and find out. So again, we're starting with episode 15. I've got the episode up and ready to go. It is at 0 seconds. There will be 2 versions of this reaction video. You can find a picture-in-picture version with the video up there in the description and a timer-based version up on YouTube. If you want to do a syncy thing and sync up your own copy of these episodes with the timer-based version, you are welcome to do so. Just get your copy ready because the beep beep timer to count you down will be coming at you now. Chisel. And this is young Yuri. Wait. We have a new OP? Okay, from a ring. Extended hands reaching out. Can never mingle. Was a tiny person's foot. Momoka? Okay, she's still around. A lot of the same visuals. A Way to Neverland. Okay. That was Kamba, right? There's that. Which was near the child broiler, right? Both of them running straight forward, Kamba off to the side, and Esmeralda with Kamba's #1. Okay. Wow, the way her dress sort of frames the top of the apple. It's cool. Oh, this is Faceless Guy. Shaky tower on the verge of collapsing. He wasn't, though. It's kind of the opposite. Yuri? Are they at the onsen? They are at the onsen. Was that the call for help from Ringo? I may have said a horrible thing to... Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Not cool, dude. She's literally next door. Huh? Yeah, me too, bro. Yuri? Oh. Never, never. Oh my god. What? Jana! Oh, hello, cockroach. Oh. And the lady chanted frog. Those are some hell of a drug. And the tower falls. Neither is she, but he doesn't know that. Ta-da! Yeah. Oh boy. Stupid fucking penguin. The fairy tale that you wanted then. But you're the princess of lies. That tower, the ugly duckling play. I love daddy. I'm willing to do anything for him. Whoa, that's the same. Whoa. Father the artist. Chisels, chisels. Sticky. Oh, I've got a creepy vibe now. Okay. Okay. Oh. Bruh. What the fuck? Like that? I'm sorry. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. Ooh, no, 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 no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, big no. All right. I'm not wrong in thinking of that as being sexual abuse, right? Like that was fully pounding sexual abuse, right? 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 Oh. Oh no. And broke her arm? Momoka. Bingo. And for the first time, really, we meet her. Mirroring his award. Swans? Yeah, okay. Okay, okay. Oh. What? Because he doesn't look like a duckling. It's like judging a fish by its ability to climb trees. It's an Aesop. That's not normal. And again, we've got this divide between the chosen and the not, the ugly and the beautiful, the divided lines that shape Yuri's world. Only ugly to a duckling. Right. Right. Her own accepting ideology. Yeah. Oh, motherfucker. I was waiting for it. Alright, there it is. This guy sucks. This guy sucks. Yeah. Oh, boy. Wait. Wait, but... That's got so many layers of bullshit to it. No! But you poor impressionable child. Yep. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was. Uh-huh. Okay. And now your leg, too. So he's not only sexually abusing her, but also physically harming her intentionally for his own gain. What the fuck? Is that the diary? That's the diary. Again, self-martyrdom. So Michelangelo's David. Trent. It's a weird way of phrasing that. Retroactively? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All the lines that surround us. Yep. But it won't be just a bandage, it'll be your life. Ah. And then I'll be the one to love you. What day is today? So he's literally carving chunks out of her, isn't he? What the fuck? I don't like this, like, at all. Just gonna hit me with Show by Rock? Okay. That's their song. They got the scarves. There. Did Sanetoshi... Must have. We just cut to him. Hi, creepy bunnies. What the? With king lights. Perfect. No, but I don't trust it. Well... Sure. Hey. Okay, we're back here. What? Okay. Well, I mean, that's what we've been focusing on for this entire episode. Don't play with straps. So it didn't work, did it? Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Masako, who are you here to erase? Is that in? No. That kind of hits the chisel on the head. A little bit. And the helicopter. Ayy. Pretty clearly. Oh. Yep. These flashes. Oh, she hit you on the head. And you are laid bare, and the diary falls away. Get! Yep, that happened. Oh, hey, buddy. We're never gonna see his face. Oh boy. Well, what? Whoa. Oh my god, she made a fake. Where that tower can be seen. Final act. Saw her love through the window. It was a fated encounter. I'm sorry, what? The tower has changed. To what? Savior of the world. But at what cost? The girl suddenly burst into flames? Oh, that adds so much weirdness. And that's the tower. But at what cost? Okay, and that was the ED. That man. Kamba or Sanetoshi? Whoa. So that's Momoko with the diary. The pages forming the same frilly dress thing that we see from the princess, right? Oh boy, this was an interesting episode. We continue to double down on this flow of giving us characters who are entirely like unsympathetic and then giving us the reasons that they are so twisted. In this case, with a heavily Yuri focused episode, which is not quite what I would say that I expected from what we were gonna get next, but damn does it work. The repeated imagery of stuff like the slowed down helicopter, the tower looming is fascinating and strange. But as we've done before, I'm gonna take a minute and go through this and try to wrap my head around a couple of things. One being this horrifying relationship with her father, and the other being I'm gonna go look through the lines that Momoka says about her ability uh, regarding the diary. I'm gonna dig into those, so I'll cut here, and we'll be back in a second to talk about this. Okay? Okay, see you in a moment. Alright, let's take this one from the top. We start off with the introduction of the symbolic tower, and the young Yuri laying in bed awaiting what her father is to bring to her. We look out through an open window, which will then be recontextualized as we move on, and then we jump into the new OP, which has a bunch of stuff that seems important in the vocals. Visually, I didn't notice anything that really stood out to me as like, oh, this is massively symbolic, besides stuff like when they're all three of them are running away from us. Kamba is running in a slightly different direction than the other two. They're running straight forward, and he's running off to the side on a different track, if you will, something that will also become rather significant as we move on. And then we continue with the tower symbolism, and we have a shaky tower on the verge of collapsing as they pile more penguins upon the different layers. Some kind of little game in the sort of Jenga archetype, but we pretty immediately understand the whole point of it. Each person puts a penguin on the tower until it all collapses. Sure, cool. Then we have another shaky tower as a maid walks by. I don't know where it is. There. Another shaky tower with a penguin on top of it. Wobble, wobble as that goes by. And our faceless friend introduces us to the idea that Yuri is right next door, setting the scene for a potential rescue, which isn't really going to be much of a rescue. It's going to be something else. We flash back through Shoma's memories to a regret, something that has been pretty consistently part of Shoma's whole deal in the last few episodes has been regret over his own actions and the actions of his parents and all kinds of things. And the whole punishment of the parents is, well, thematically relevant in a lot of different ways. Then we get real horrifying. We've got Yuri setting a bed while Ringo, in full bondage, is talking about the wonders of what she is about to experience, clearly in a very drugged up state, and speaking kind of nonsense. I particularly like this one shot, which is her shell, I suppose. It's her cocoon of the robe and the sash, with the bright pink line cutting across it, severing the whole thing. It's really reminiscent of the scenes where we introduce blue-haired girl in Evangelion. What is her name? Ray. Thank you. I was thinking Reen for no reason. I don't know why. That's just not right. Ray from Evangelion, when she's introduced and we first enter into her room, it's got a lot of this sort of similar pink lines cutting through things. Not that this is like a reference to it or anything, but okay, sure. We get a cockroach that is then snapped up by a toad, very reminiscent of the lady-chanted and egg-chanted frogs. And Shoma is desperate to try to help Ringo, not knowing what she's going through. This is sort of a climactic moment for their relationship in a way, but is then eventually realizes what's going on in the next room over, but arrives too late. According to Yuri. Now, we're a little bit ambiguous about what the hell is going on here, but given their positioning, I don't know. What she eventually says is, yeah, who says women need men to find pleasure? Again, playing into the scary gay that we got in the previous episode, and then Ringo's "you know what is mine." I assume that she means her virginity or her sexuality or whatever. It's ambiguous, and it doesn't really matter at this point. Shoma is then thwarted by his own penguin's gluttony and stumbles over a bottle and hits his head hard. And then Yuri waxes philosophical, leading into our pretty deep dive into her history and past and horrible family relationships. If only I had the desire to be wanted by others, the naivete to demand others to see me as who I am. But that is not something that you have. You're an actress. And then we have this symbolic image of the helicopter looming above, moving slowly. This does two things. One, it's like eyes in the sky at all times, and two, it creates a symbolic link between Yuri's experiences here and Tabuki's experiences of the first day, the day that Momoka died. I don't know whether it's got a lot of a point beyond that. I mean, there are a lot of things you could read into this. There's the spinning of the blades, which is reminiscent of the spinning of the fan, which is reminiscent of the spinning of the apparently spinning Penguindrum and all that jazz. But more than that, it's scary and weird and familiar and also strange. But we move from there to this gigantic tower looming, almost like the what is it called, the Titan of Rhodes or whatever, the giant statue outside of Rhodes, the Colossus of Rhodes. But it is Michelangelo's David, and functions, it kind of looks like the Statue of Liberty with the lights built into it and apparently people living within it, but it's got a lot more symbolic relevance than anything particular about this tower itself. It is a gigantic looming shape that is associated with her father's art, his creation of statues, his sculpting, and it looms above almost every scene that she is outside. Anytime that she is away from him, his influence and his watching eye is still looking over her. And this starts to lead us into the emotional and then physical abuse that she suffers under her father, who is horrible. He's really fucking horrible, and a pretty great depiction of emotional abuse. Yeah, so toiling away, and we get Yuri's perspective on this before things get darker, which is that she is in awe of her father, admires him, and that's often the place, I think, where an emotionally abusive relationship can start. Awe and admiration is one of the things that we use when we're children to overlook the painful things that our parents may do or say to us. Um, it's weird and it's twisted, but it very much fits into the kind of willful ignorance and that's not quite the phrase, but acceptance of the dark parts of people when we really shouldn't. But we can't really blame Yuri for her being in this situation. She just wants to be loved by her family. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to some of Sanetoshi's segments, when he kind of undercuts that whole situation and ties it in once more with some of the other things that we've talked about. Okay. I've got notes. Giant watchtower looms watching in the shadow of the parent, continuously in the shadow of her parent. The helicopter that Tabuki saw. Oh, terrorism by parents against society and then against child. Right. So, the first time we saw the helicopter, it functioned as symbolic of the terror caused by Shoma and Kamba's parents against society. Here we see a similar kind of terrorism, but inside of the family unit itself. And I use terrorism loosely as literally the creation of terror. That is exactly what her father is doing. He is creating fear and awfulness inside of their family unit, something which has been sort of the thing that we place against fate in this story so far. Fate versus family, fate versus connection. And here and then later in Sanetoshi's lines, which we might as well talk about now since we can flow into it. I'm not sure where those are. They're a bit further, but I don't like this section at all. I don't like it at all. Okay. Where's the Sanetoshi segment? Oh man, and then the even more textbook emotional abuse, which is horrifying. I don't know where the Sanetoshi segment is. Oh, it's here. Okay. Okay, how electrifying. Are you satisfied now? You're no fun. The scar is double H. He's amazing. You've already found out. Are you upset about what I've done? How did you know about the idols? It's a doctor's job. Are you really that insecure about whether your sister loves you? Don't you think families are a sort of fantasy or a sort of fate? A curse? We can't choose which families we are born into, and parents who treat their children as objects in the name of love abusing them. They only love themselves. Yet kids must love their parents solely because they're family. It's a track that they're on. It's something that they cannot escape. So we've had family versus fate. And then in Sanetoshi's words here, we have family becomes fate, or family equals fate, which is a bit of a terrifying twist to this. Like, the idea that you don't choose your family and that you're required to love them by some kind of natural law or natural order to things is a rather common sentiment, and one that's fairly frequently explored, but here it's being explored in a really strange way that makes me feel very strange. I don't like it very much. I don't like Sanetoshi. I really don't like Yuri's dad. I don't like Yuri very much, adult Yuri, but she's got a little bit more sympathetic when we find out that a lot of her issues come from horrible abuse. The nature of which is kept intentionally vague. I mean, the chisels are mildly phallic, and the whole situation that we've got here is genuinely horrifying. I mean, the fact that she ends up nude on the bed at one point and is injured every time this situation occurs is real creepy, and you can read all kinds of things into it, whether that's just sexual abuse. I mean, when we cut away to things in the environment and then we have the pounding chisel noises, it makes me think that we're going sexual with it, but that he also gets some kind of sadistic sexual pleasure out of injuring her or using the chisels to gouge out chunks of her flesh or something. It's really fucked up, however you look at it. And all of these scenes are framed so well to create this horrifying atmosphere of the looming father, the shattered image of the mother that he has rejected, the way The way that he speaks of your mother became uglier by the minute after she gave birth to you, and then eventually became that, with such vitriol and such hatred for her, that we have to imagine is undeserved and strange. I mean, I come from a broken parental unit, a family that split when I was relatively young, and so words like this or uh, turning the other person in the family into an object and speaking ill of them and trying to convince the child that that is the normal way of thinking is something that I grew up with as kind of a constant on both sides of that. Oh, your dad is this, and this. Oh, your mom is this, and this. And I moved between the houses a lot during my childhood, so I heard a lot of it. And it fucks you up as a kid. It's not good to have parents who hate each other. Probably better than having them hate each other living in the same house for my situation, but gah, this hit a little bit close to home for me. Um, yeah, yeah, that's why she could no longer live in this house and ended up like that. She was ugly and stupid too. She couldn't comprehend my art. Don't be ugly. Love your father unconditionally. Comprehend my art and praise me for it. It fits Sanetoshi's eventual words so to a T. I don't like it. I don't like it. Yuri, you are ugly. No one will ever love you, but your dad can change that. Your dad can shape you into something beautiful. Myself included, of course. This is the despair that you're looking at. This is your fate, but I can change it for you. And the angel rays of light streaming in, surrounded by these gorgeous statues. It's so ethereal and strange. The way we cut to his pipe and it becomes symbolic of him and his position in her life. But more than that, the way that we frame him in front of the statue, looming and looming. We see a group of doves fly free, or is that in an earlier scene? I believe that's in an earlier scene where we see that. Yeah, and the statue looming. That tower was always visible. Ugh. And then we meet Momoka for the first time. Yuri is alone, and she takes this as validation of her father's words. He was right. Nobody chooses the ugly ones. And Momoka rejects that completely. Why you? Well, you're so pretty. And the world accepts them for it, gives them gold stars, gold awards. And even here, every time we're outside, it's as though we're in the shadow of the tower. There's one scene a little bit later where we genuinely are. But we frame them as so small on screen, as small as the swans and ducklings that we're looking at. Tiny, tiny, with this gigantic tower looming above. And again, the swan's even larger than they are. Ugly things have to endure whatever pain it takes to become beautiful, internalizing and internalizing and internalizing. And Momoka once again rejects this, and then goes into her, I don't know if it's a word, but platitudinous worldview, the same one that we heard expressed by Tabuki, and the same one in different terms that we've heard Ringo profess repeatedly, that because there is fate, everything is beautiful, or because God made this world, everything is beautiful. It's there and it sounds nice, but it's thin. It doesn't really help with the actual pain that people are experiencing. I mean, it just allows you to justify the pain and suffering of the world as something that's inevitable, which seems to be a part of this whole weird narrative that we have about changing fate lines, which I can't help but be reminded of Steins Gate and the way that changing world lines is possible, but some things are unchangeable. But we get interesting with it. And again, framing them so small, and the statue so large, and her father always in shadow, even when the light is spilling in. Faceless. Just a figure of authority. And this conversation, oh man, it starts out almost wholesome. Oh, that's great. Did you make a friend? Oh, is she nice? How wonderful. And then it all shatters because textbook emotional abuse. You can't trust anyone who's nice to you. You can't trust anyone but your family. You can't trust anyone but daddy. Oh, daddy, no. Oh, no. No, no, no. No, 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 no. Nice girls are nice to everyone, and they'll just stab you in the back. Right. And we see the effect that this has on Yuri through this shaky cam and the bit of a dolly zoom that's created by the effect. Right? Yeah, yeah. And what's so... of course, one of the things that Ikuhara likes to do is he likes to have characters that are meant to be villainous be immediately recognizably self-contradictory. Only blood-related family members can be trusted. Family members never lie. Pure and beautiful love only exists within your family. And then immediately after that, strangers are all like your mother. You know, your blood-related family who you just said never lies. You have only me. Now this is textbook emotional abuse. You can't trust anybody but daddy. Only daddy. Trust daddy. Love daddy. I have only you. If I didn't have you, you would be hurting me. I hate it. I hate it. And the fact that I hate it so much is a testament to how well it's executed, because it's executed really well. And even without showing us the precise nature of this abusive relationship, we know more than we need to understand how twisted and how horrifying this is. And from that, to glean a little bit of insight into why Yuri became the princess of lies that she has become. Because in an emotionally abusive household, you learn not to tell your dad about the friends that you've made, or the things that you enjoy, or the life that you're leading, because you know that he will shit all over it. And this rings oh so true to my own familial experiences, and my own battle with the difficulty of being forced to lie throughout your childhood, and then becoming an adult and realizing that honesty and speaking what you actually feel is really important in normal relationships. It's a weird bridge to cross, and a terrifying one, and I can see very clearly how somebody in a circumstance like that could end up living a sequence of lies the way that Yuri has. I mean, the previous episode to this one was very literally the princess of lies, and that was what Yuri was. And now we see a reason. It's not a justification so much, but it's a reason, and it allows us to understand this twisted, awful character that Yuri is, and maybe to feel for her. Maybe not to forgive her, but to feel for her. Ugh. I am the only person who can truly love you. Hurry over if you understand. And we see, yeah, okay. So we distinctly see that she's wearing an ankle or knee-length dress, and when we cut to her legs running, she is nude. So yeah, we're being relatively unsubtle with this. It's pretty subtle, but yeah, and yeah, hammering away, and we see her nude form, and we see the leg chopped off, bits and pieces of her reality, of her beautiful self, embodied by these statues, being chopped and chiseled away by her father's words and her father's actions, leaving her less than she was. Ugh. But, and leading her to reject the things in her life that she actually enjoys and actually has a good time with. But Momoka keeps pushing, Because Momoko has something else, has something special. I want to get you to trust me. And she self-martyrs, self-flagellates. But that's not true. What if I let you in on a secret? On my secret? And their world becomes scattered with subway lines, ley lines, world lines. I can transfer onto another fate. I can change tracks. And we see the bandage on her finger. But there's something very unique about Momoko's ability. Chanting a spell and praying to God, I can transfer onto another fate. You're not making any sense. But symbolically she is, and more than that, and they still are overshadowed by these gigantic looming legs. No one notices the change, but my body remembers. You get punished, and we see this. We see the suffering that she endures. One of my personal core philosophies, and one that I've talked about a number of times on this channel whenever it comes relevant, is a semi-Buddhist idea that suffering is inevitable. It's a natural part of existence. We exist, we suffer, we die. But that's a deeply nihilistic approach. You see, I think that if you can choose what you're willing to suffer for, you can find enjoyment and purpose and fulfillment and satisfaction that overshadows the suffering that you will inevitably experience anyway. Trying to go through the world in order to escape suffering isn't sustainable, and I would say is impossible, because no matter how wealthy or how comfortable you get, if you don't have the purpose and the drive and the motivation to work towards something, and the experience of knowing that you are moving towards something, or at least that you've tried, you're still going to suffer alone in your lush apartment or beautiful place, surrounded by wealth and luxury. You're still going to suffer. So if you choose your suffering, choose what you're willing to suffer for, you can alleviate its relative effect on you by having other things that are worthwhile in your life. And Momoko's ability seems to embody that ideal. She chooses a different path for the universe, for the world, and suffers for it. And other people suffer as well, but they suffer differently. She's able to warp and twist and change the world and take the pain of each world line that she changes and place it upon her own form. First, a little nick on the finger for saving the life of a little bunny. Second, spontaneous combustion for saving Yuri from her father, for seemingly disappearing her father. Weird. It makes me think a little bit, this is an odd place to go with this, but it makes me think of Violet Evergarden and the whole conversation over multiple episodes about you are on fire, you are burning up, and one day you will realize that you have been on fire this whole time, and only then will you feel the burns and notice them across your body. The suffering that Momoko experiences in her spontaneous combustion is equal to the suffering that Yuri experiences. The life of a rabbit is maybe a nick or a cut on the finger, but Yuri's continued suffering under her father was akin to burning alive constantly. And so that's what Momoko experiences. Now, the other thing that this indicates is the possibility that all of this, the 95 attacks, are a punishment, a suffering brought unto Momoko for changing something, changing some world line to this one. That they are the justice or the retribution for this little lamb. And that begs the question, what would have been worth that level of sacrifice? Her entire life. For what? For who? Why did she disappear? And was her death enough? Or did the punishment need to continue? That all those people who were connected to her, who had relationships with her, would suffer for her absence? I don't know. But it's an interesting line of thought, I think. Oh boy. I wouldn't mind getting another bandage for you. Oh, how naive. And a new chisel arrives. Ugh. Then, on what seems to be an unrelated note, Sanetoshi has gifted the scarves. I mean, one would assume it was Sanetoshi. Gifted the scarves to Double H, and it's unclear, it's somewhat ambiguous when they say a precious friend of ours knitted them for us, whether they do mean Himari, or whether Sanetoshi took credit for it. Maybe that's a little bit suspicious of me to think that way. He probably told them it was her, and they probably are accepting of that. I don't know. I will say that Ota penguin with the little Himari penguin thing is pretty great. And then we get a bit of a strange action sequence. As Masako, continuing to be an absolute savage, shows up, lays into Yuri. Can't bring myself to love celebrities. They were... what was the next line? Yeah, they were never told they were needed when they were little, so they're desperate to be needed by people. Consumed by the desire to make it up with their adulthood. And the framing of everything kind of gives us the indication that this cuts into Yuri pretty deeply, given what we know. And then the reveal into swimsuit mode. Got the blaster. Fuck yeah. And we turned it into a ping pong fight, which is ridiculous. And then we cut the lights, and an amazing sequence occurs where we have just bright flashes as each of them interacts with the ping pong ball and sends it back or fires a new one at each other. Fantastic. It's a really cool sequence. I like it a lot. But Yuri wins out in the end, giving up a fake version of the other half of the diary, setting Masako off satisfied until she discovers that it is indeed fake. And Yuri once again takes this role of the knowing adult in the situation. What the fuck? You can't just do that, Yuri. The rat took the bait, and that's the real diary. I absolutely must have it. And he is gone. The tower has changed. We see only the vaguest reflection of it. But I assume that it became Tokyo Tower. Or Tokyo Sky Tower. Savior of the world. Momoka. This is the price. You can't come near the transfers. You'll lose things important to you as payment. That's my job. The title and the imagery that we get here is of Momoka as a Christ figure or a Buddha figure. You can pick and choose. I mean, Christian symbolism has a lot to do with Buddhist ideals. They're relatively intertwined. This idea that she is a sacrificial savior, a sacrificial lamb, and savior of humanity who takes the pain of the world upon herself. Yeah, all right. It also fits with her, I guess you could say, agape, her unconditional love for the world and all of its things, including its darkness, all of it seeming to fit into this God's plan. And seeing no issue with that at all, which I have issues with that idea, but Momoka does not. She is pure idealism, the embodiment of it, and entirely willing to sacrifice her own physicality and to suffer in order to take that burden from other people. You're beautiful the way you are now, but Momoka disappeared and the tower remained. The scenery of the world changed. And now Yuri is desperate to change fate herself and to bring Momoka back into this world. That seems like maybe not a good idea. That seems like the kind of thing that would function within the fairy tale that Shoma told us as trying to bring back the apple tree that gave us peace and love and justice and all these things. So, punishment inbound. Maybe. We'll see. In any case, that was the first episode of Penguindrum for the day. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's move on to the next episode of Penguindrum for the day. Let's watch episode 16. I'm going to take a break, do a syncy thing, and we'll be back in a moment to jump into episode 16 of Mawaru Penguindrum. So, I'll see you in a moment. Peace. Alrighty, welcome back. We are good to go for episode 16 of Mawaru Penguindrum. It's up and ready. Let's have at it. Masako has stolen a fake half of the diary, is probably going to get home and realize that it's fake and get real pissed. Whole bunch of backstory lore drop on Yuri. It sucks. Her history sucks, but she met Momoka, and Momoka's really cool. And also, apparently, a deity level character able to change fate. Okay, let's watch the next episode. Beep beep timer. Hello, Koi. Who's Tosan? Oh. His voice sounds familiar. Huh? As a child? Uh-huh. Just say the imaginary and the real can never mingle in a show that dives deep into magical realism is kind of interesting. Oh. And we had the scene in the first OP where Ringo lights on fire, right? As she's running? Hmm. Okay. Certainly. Does she actually believe that it's... Party! Got her on the TV. Yeah, it doesn't fit. Oh, shit. Oh, okay. It just had a voice thing in it. Got it. Uh-oh. That's not doing much. Renjaku? Or butler or something? One would assume. We're gonna do the American Psycho sequence. Doesn't even matter what she's actually saying. You trust her, eh? Ooh, Bentley? Oh. Oh, it's like the long cat of limousines. It's a giant dick. She's the president of Natsume. Holy fuck. Oh, hi, Dad. Another statue. Or grandfather. Okay. Faceless. Hmm. Genghis Khan. I'm not sure what the actual pun was, but that's pretty great. And she's gone. Oh, Jesus. Adult knitting. Whoa, Sanatoshi. Hi. Bye. Hmm. Yeah. It seems totally normal to me. Sure. Yep. Oh, hello. Spinning. Okay. She's his sister. Dude. Oh. That's great. Is she taking the maid into survival strategy? Wow, we haven't seen this in so long. I mean, she's got to be taking the maid in there. That's who she was addressing. But why? Imagine? Say it. Yeah. Yep, that's me. Yep. Sure. You fucked up the haiku. Wait, what? Wait, what? All right, bye then. With who? Okay. Sure. Hmm. Again, with grandfather looming. A failure as a human being. So I decided to crush him. So, a parallel and a perpendicular with Yuri's story. To crush him, but you became him. Huh? You poisoned him? Holy shit. Oh. Oh. Okay, it was all a dreamy meme. Oh, yeah, that's normal. Oh. Okay. Yeah, you might. Oh, hello, Kamba. Why the fuck are you here? That's a black limo. Whoa. Oh, just a dreamy meme. This is pretty damn good English. Of course. Thunk. Those were some great cuts. Oh. What happened? No. I'm just gonna repeat this loop over and over and over until it's the real time. Or... Oh. Trapped? Mm-hmm. Aww. Oh, I missed it. Yeah. Winners and losers, chosen and unchosen, ugly and beautiful. That monster took things precious to me. He even tried to crush Mario. Bruh. Winners and losers. Not even a person, just a symbol of authority. Again. Oh. I agree. We didn't change his voice. Puberty hit real early for Kamba. You went fishing? No chance. Mm. Is he gonna die from doing it improperly? Because blowfish is very difficult to do properly. He ate it all himself. Jew. It is. He died. Interesting choice. So he died himself, and you didn't have to kill him. Would you look at that? Yeah, how nice. Nope. Mr. President, why? That's so great. Oh no. I must not be crushed. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? Please no. That's a pretty good one. Oh, we're doing a... Never mess with a... I forget the word. When death is on the line. Oh boy. K. Oh, she ate them both. What the fuck? Neither was poisoned. Oh, phone call. Oh my god. Uh-huh. Why is this here? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Oh. Hello. Hi, Kamba. Father, not Kamba. Hi, Kamba. Um. I don't buy that. And again, the fruit. Join them as a chosen one. Join them. It's a real good question. Hey. Sanetoshi standing in her grandfather's place. I am not taking that train. Uncrushable man. So we're continuing with new Double H songs for every episode, except for the last one. This is so different. It's so different. Ah! A lot of relevant things in this. Not a lot in the episode. No idea what the fuck this episode was about. Oh, this is part of Rock Over Japan? I guess. I don't know. Super upbeat. I guess we needed a little break after and they're eating curry. Mm-hmm. Damn, Lily Hoshino. I really like her art. Alright, this was a weird episode. Weird in that it wasn't weird in any of the ways that I would have expected from a Penguindrum episode. The previous episode was a lot more, like, thematically fitting. This one, I don't understand, and I'm just gonna admit that freely at the beginning. The only thing I can think is that, like, we're continuing this idea of family and a different perspective on the looming presence of a parent, or in this case, a grandparent, where Masako has lost her father, who ran away from his fate, you could say, of being a successor to this great fortune. And she has instead embraced this fortune in her own way after hating this grandfather who was a brilliant businessman who made this monstrous thing as embodied by his own gigantic statue of himself and the giant house that they live in and the gigantic, massively phallic structure of their corporate office and all sorts of things. But what we see is that by rejecting him and eventually sort of rejoicing in his death, she has stepped into his role and is very much on the same track, on the same path that he was. She does the same thing with the black tea every morning and goes through the same structure. This is a much lighter episode tonally, which is a bit of a whiplash experience coming from the previous one that was very horrifying in the way that it talked about family struggles and I guess you could say trouble in paradise. This one's a lot lighter with the rock and roll knight to a side character who then becomes part of a an AV photography sequence and is just strange. Like, there are so many little things. The fact that she has the same morning structure is one, but the fact that she's still got all of these pictures of her grandfather everywhere, and that the grandfather that we see has the sort of traditional look of the Japanese grandfather. It actually reminds me quite a bit of a particular grandfather from Symphogear of all things, with the gigantic mustache and the little chin beard and the coiffed hair. But he's never a person to her. He's always just grandfather with a mask over his face that labels him as this figure of authority who she simultaneously looks up to and despises for having pushed away her own father. That man ruled over my entire world, so I decided to crush him. The whole repetitive sequence of waking, experiencing something with her grandfather, seeing that he is still alive, and dreaming of murdering him in various more and more comical ways is really interesting. It's kind of, I guess it's what a person might go through if they were in a truly horrible or truly oppressed situation. You begin to fantasize about attacking or harming the person who's put you there or the person that you blame for that. But there's so much goofiness. I mean, there are some really cool cuts. Like, I love the way they smeared up this ball. And the impact frames that are somewhat reminiscent of the frames on Stark Red, but more pink in this case, when she hits people with the ping pong balls. And then this cut as he flies away, just... I really like the line work of this one. And then we get, like, it's not a Dazaki frame, but this one flash of a splashy frame. It's all magical and very strange. And the whole idea that she's hiding in the fruit bowl with a snake is ridiculous. Actually, hold on. Bible, fruit, snake? Oh no, that's gonna just give me Genesis. I think that there's another biblical story of a venomous snake hidden in a bowl of fruit, but I don't remember where that is. Okay. Uh, okay. I don't really know what to think about this episode. It's a fucking weird one. It almost reminds me of Nanami episodes of all things. He's a stinky, stinky poo. And he's throwing away Mario's things and Masako's things in order to try to make Mario become a strong man. And then we get the ridiculous sequence of his training as he sits across a wooden horse, which I believe is a form of a torture implement. And his sycophantic English-speaking second in command like runs across hot coals, and apparently they jump through rings of fire and stuff. What the fuck? And she tells all of this to young Kanba, who speaks in Kanba's older voice, which is very strange. The blowfish sequence, and he dies from it, hoisted by his own petard, you could say. And then she awakens to find Mario with 2 plates of blowfish. I guess this is like her worst fear, is that this thing that she loves, this person that she loves, Mario, will become the embodiment of this grandfather who she hated. Love this eye. Super awesome. And she goes into convulsions because of it, has a call with Sanetoshi, who tells her all about blowfish poison, which is like, why are you telling me this, bro? What the fuck? And then she ends up on the train and discovers that her father, as Kanba is doing now, fell in with these penguin symbolism wearing, black-coated, black-hatted men. And she refuses to go on that train. They have been chosen to put the world back on track. So the world is off its track. One could draw a connection between that and Momoka's ability to change the track of the world. If anyone put it off track, it would have been her, probably. But what the hell? I keep coming back to this couple of frames. This one with the building looming above her, and then the one a little bit later with the statue looming above her. Both of them shot kind of Dutch to fit the whole thing inside. It stands, the episode as a whole, stands as a really very different approach to showing a rather torturous family dynamic. We've seen a lot of family dynamics in this show, with Ringo's relationship with her parents and the whole underwater, the eel sequence and the water rising up being absolutely horrifying. With just before this episode, the Yuri episode with her father and his dominance and horrible emotional abuse in his words and his ever watchful gaze over her entire life, embodied by the statue and perhaps the helicopter. We've seen it in Shoma and Kanba and their relationship with their parents, and finding out that everything they knew about them seems to have been a lie. And then we've seen the flip side of that in the sort of wonderful and enjoyable sequences of found family and Ringo being almost adopted into their household and finding connection through that. But what we have here is a farce of family. And after skimming through the episode a couple of times and just thinking about this, which I'll probably cut out because I wasn't talking very much, that's kind of what we're getting at here. Like, the family dynamic that Masako grew up in is a bit of a farce for a family. And I think that playing off of something I said earlier about him having the piece of paper over his face, the mask that obscures his features, that prevents any kind of real relationship with him, is exactly the point we're trying to drive home here, that while he has constructed this enormous entity of an organization, of a company, and while she reaps the benefits of it, he never related to his children or his grandchildren in any way, and we can imagine that he never related to his son in any way, and that's probably why his son ran for the hills and took the hell off, and eventually joined everybody on that weird train, joined the Chosen. Masako doesn't join the train, though. She rejects that. She stays where she is. And what we see in her current life is exactly that. While her father has run away and seemingly joined the Chosen of fate, choosing his own path, his own life, she has not. She's not moving. She's staying in the same place. And as much as she says that she hates her father, and indeed as much as she is visually overshadowed by not her father, her grandfather, and is overshadowed by her grandfather's accomplishments and the things that he has built, she steps into his shoes. She walks down this aisle of sycophants the same way he does. She drinks tea every morning in the same way that he does. She organizes and runs meetings the same way that he does. She uses even the same puns, even sitting inside of the frame that he has created for her, not breaking out of it. She is locked into this. And that's why it's such a farce when we see her in her childish imagination. Well, we have this little fight, and then this goofiness, which I don't even know what to think about this whole sequence. It's just weird and very fan servicey. But this repetitive day as he screams, "I will not be crushed, I will not be crushed," and she imagines murdering him, it's farcical, and each time that she kills him in her dreams, it's more and more ridiculous. It's almost as ridiculous as the fantasy fairy tales that Ringo came up with in her own mind, but here it's to murder this man and to free herself. But in the same way that Ringo could never imagine herself as the victor, herself finding love, it always had to be a fantasy version of her. These sequences and these murders are so farcical that it indicates to us that Masako will never be able to break out of this fate that's been put in front of her by her grandfather. And indeed, she does not. Even when he dies without her lifting a finger, she is, well, she says that she would do anything even if it means being eternally cursed, and that seems to be exactly what's happening. She seems cursed to follow in his footsteps, to remain apart from the Chosen. Weird. Okay, we got one flash of the slogan in the background, I think. Okay, there it is. And I couldn't catch it. Faith will move mountains. That's a weird one. I don't know. I don't know if it will. I don't know how that fits. He still has absolute control. He thought there were only two kinds of people, winners and losers, as she sits before the fire. That mindset. Huh. And yet, in her previous conversations with Kanbo, when she's talked about victorious hunters, she embodies that same mentality. She's tried to run away from it, but has fallen deeply into it. Weird. But a wonderfully goofy and comedic episode that works on just a comedy level, and certainly serves to break up the pace of horrible things that we were diving deeper and deeper into. Although this final sequence with what I will call her greatest fear, that Mario, who she loves, will himself embody her grandfather. She then consumes all of the blowfish herself, both plates, inevitably poisoning herself. And again, following very much in her grandfather's footsteps. And then she ends up here. Sees her father, sees Kamba walking along the same path. I am not taking that train. I refuse to be one of the chosen. It's almost what she's saying. This is a weird episode. I mean, every episode is weird, but this one's weird compared to the others, and different compared to the others, but it's a whole blast. It's a whole lot of fun. But it's a farce of wealth. One that she doesn't seem able to escape, despite seemingly wanting to. Wow. Be careful lest you become the monster that you hate. Weird. Okay, well, this was a very strange pair of episodes to watch together. Probably would have been better off watching like 14 and 15 together, because then we would have gotten the whole Yuri experience where we get the turn from Yuri and then the explanation of the turn. And then maybe this one and the next one, maybe you're more associated, but this one feels like a break, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break from the overwhelming rush of sorrow and nihilistic determinism that has been everywhere in this story for the last few episodes. So pleasant, enjoyable. Don't know how much to read into it. I mean, there are a few things, and the contrast between the different ways of demonstrating a pretty mediocre family dynamic between this and, let's say, episode 15, where we got Yuri's father. Very interesting. Very weird. To tackle such a serious subject with so much tongue-in-cheek comedy. Weird. But enjoyable. Alright, Ikuhara. This wild ride is just gonna continue, isn't it? Yep. I'm okay with that. I guess we're gonna wrap there. I've been Teeaboo. This has been Penguindrum episodes 15 and 16. I hope you've enjoyed them as much as I have, and I hope to catch you next week in the next ones. If you want the next episodes, they'll be up on Patreon today at some point if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you've got comments or ideas or I don't know, ways of taking these episodes or thoughts about them, and you want to share them down below, I would love to read them. So hit me with some comments. That would be great. Anyway, I'll see you next week for more Penguindrum. Peace.